conversations. I've seen it a lot in emails, and I've always wondered if it's my my paranoia or something is really happening. But who's calling me on the phone? Is that you?
Uh, Probably. Maybe it may have rehooked up or something like that. Ignore it. It should be, everything should be working here.
Yeah, it was somebody else.
Okay. Everything's working on Blog Talk. Everything's working on TalkShoe. My guest is John Kaminski, and you can hear the whole show on Blog Talk. We got it all hooked up back there. The recording never stopped. And we're recording now on Blog TV. Everything's working on that. So
they do listen to everything, and as your TV promo suggests, they do listen to you. So it's like consider it just another call-in from a person who's a Jew pretending not to be one.
We get that. We get that a lot. Now let's see what. Okay, we got that going. Matter of fact, let me see if. Where's my studio here? Okay. See if we got any calls on here. John Kaminski again is my guest today, and we are re-recording the. I've got a caller on here. It's been on here for a while. Hello, who's this from the 918 area code?
This is Ann, Clay. Hi.
Oh, hi, Ann. How are you? You want to say hello to John?
Hello, John.
Hello, Ann.
Glad to hear you again.
I'm glad you're glad.
All right, Ann. I'll put you on hold here. Just wanted to check on you.
Okie doke.
All right, dear. John, how do we combat this? Now we've been trying. You mentioned Eustace Mullins. Eustace Mullins. I've got articles of his about this whole banking scam, about this, and our founding fathers warned us. I mean, why isn't this part of the schools? If you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land we conquered.
I think that as you were phrasing that question, I began to think of Frederick Bastiat, the 19th century French lawyer who made a tremendous contribution to our thinking when he begged us to think about the difference between law and morality. And it's so vivid today where we have all these laws that are certainly not moral. And I always say that if you choose morality over the law, you're working for us, you're working for the people, you're working for love, and you're working for God. But if you choose the law over morality, well, you can guess who you're working for, and most people actually do that. They follow laws that they know are wrong. And so I just say, like I said before at the top of the show, the real battle for everything is inside our own minds. And I've outlined the way to what I think is an effective way to combat it. Virtually nobody understands what I'm saying. Nobody will even contemplate it. Nobody will even contemplate the fact that they die. They're so locked into this little system they have of forgiving themselves for everything they do, because they know that if they just utter the magic incantations of the book of Revelation or whatever, that they're going to be okay. And that is a boy, talk about the ultimate placebo. That is a drug that keeps you from interacting with the world. The fact is, you have one life in which to make everything right as best you can see it. And if you flub it, then that's your problem, and you're going to have to deal with that for eternity. But so why everybody isn't fighting to stop this is beyond me. I must be from another planet, because I can't understand how everybody is behaving, locked down and adhering to these things that are destroying their brothers and sisters. And when you destroy your brothers and sisters, you destroy yourself, and that's what we're doing.
That is what's happening. The guest I have on tomorrow was on my show last week. He came on my show, was a very good guest, talking about starting the militias again, and immediately they came after him. Oh, you know, he's a federal informant. You know that, don't you? Oh, you're not going to listen to the truth? You know, how would you know that somebody's a federal informant? They've never been in court. They've never been tried. No, you know, what did the chief of police or did the chief of the FBI give you a special bulletin? Why can't people understand this is exactly what they do? Well, you know, Clay's a child molester. He's a ripoff. He steals from you. He takes from you. I gave him a donation and he wouldn't give me a receipt.
Hey, artist theft.
You know, John, we've talked about the Christian identity before, and you did a superb article on this whole racist mentality. If you want to go out and kill all the blacks, you want to kill all the Mexicans, you want to kill all the Jews, then you're no better off than the people you say we're opposing.
I like the CIA guys in a lot of ways. They make some very important points, and one of the most important points they make is that how the creation of Christianity actually occurred before the creation of Judaism. The whole codification of the Talmud was a reaction to the success of the Christian movement, even though I think they started the Christian movement. Not everybody agrees with me, obviously. But the Talmud was put together after the Bible was put together, kind of as a response to the Bible, because the Bible was so, I mean, they did such a good job extracting some of the best principles from previous religions. I mean, the basic whole Christian complex was stolen, lock, stock, and barrel from the Egyptians. Horus was the savior. He was the intercessor with Osiris, who was the big god. Horus was the Jesus of his time, and people asked Horus for forgiveness, and Horus argued with his father to forgive these people and let them go to the happy afterlife. So Christianity is just a rip-off of that, but I think that's false in itself, and I don't think that humanity could. I don't think humanity was capable of understanding this until now, when we see some of the mind control aspects of religion, and we see that this projected fantasy that we live forever was created as a response to the fear of death. And we have adopted that as our main platform of existence, and that's why we fight each other. So if we take that out as our main platform of existence and admit that we die, then we're not going to be fighting each other, because we clearly understand that everybody else is in the same boat as we are.
I might disagree with you on one point here. I have memories of existences in the past, and I even wrote a poem about that, about somebody meeting somebody they think's the devil, and they said, "God, stay, I pray, show us a way, so in hell our souls don't burn." And my guest, Steady and Free, said, "Of hell you shouldn't care. You can't go, because you were there. You stay till you pay, as I said before. You stay as men, not more." You know, maybe we've got a whole wrong idea looking at this. Maybe this place is hell here. And
it's what we make it.
We made it hell. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it doesn't have to be that way. John, we have, you know, this is the 21st century. And we are doing this show right now. It will go up on YouTube. It'll be available for millions of people. They don't want you to hear it. They'll try to block it in libraries and all that. But the technology is here in the 21st century that we can communicate all over the world. And if we can generate our own power and grow our own food, we don't need them for nothing. This is this whole energy thing. You know, they call Green in America selling the top of that mountain to a foreign company, probably
Right.
Chinese, so they can build wind generators to bring over and put on top of that mountain and pipe it down the hill and sell it to you at a little increased cost. Why don't we just put the generators? Why don't we put the solar? Why don't we build our houses so our houses provide us with all the energy we got? Why isn't that happening? I don't, now this is, to me, this is common sense. God gave us the wind, He gave us the sun. We've been a self-sufficient family farm, been working for 10,000 years. You could do it in a neighborhood in Las Vegas, for God's sakes. If you just talk to your neighbors, if you work together, if you thought a little bit differently, instead of working for the whole corporations and the 501c3 churches, you still work.
I think all of these long-range musings are good because we need to plan for our future, but right now everything is complicated by the multiple disasters that we're facing. The radiation story is so underplayed. It's like any other social phenomenon. People get upset about it for a few weeks, but then their attention wanes as the information is suppressed, and we get these nebulous stories about how radiation has increased on the West Coast, about how it only takes one of those particles to get into your lungs to be fatal. I haven't read a good story. I'm sure it's out there. I just haven't found it on what the time frame is on all of these events, because we've had so many stories that have been thrown at us that have scared the hell out of us. I know I totally freaked out about the Gulf oil spill. And really all it amounted to was in the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico, there are shrimp with no eyes and fish lesions, and lots of people sick from the presence of all that crap. Down in the southern Gulf, it's almost as if nothing has happened. The tourists are still here. The fish appear okay. There's still, I mean, the fish and the birds are what I watch, and there hasn't been a noticeable change in the fish and the birds here. So we're being poisoned by, it's like 360 degrees, the food. We've talked about the food, and it's as if everything is wrong. And that's in fact because it is wrong, that we're living for the wrong reason, that we're living to pile up all these toys to insulate ourselves from death, and in the meantime our loved ones go hungry and they die for our lack of care. It's the wrong way. I figured out a way, and this is, these aren't my ideas, they're other people's ideas that I put together. We need to figure out a new way to run everything. We need to figure out a new way to run ourselves, and we need to do it ourselves because the other guys are rapidly working on the problem of taking care of us and making us into an obstreperous-free species by dumbing us down, limiting what we can think, and really harming our health in unbelievable ways. One of the worst things that happens when you believe in eternal life is you develop this philosophy that goes to ridiculous extremes, and the most ridiculous extreme of the philosophy we've developed is this fact that if we just keep changing our body parts, we can live forever. And that is if you think you can live forever, then you really know nothing about God. You really know nothing about the universe and nothing about the world that you live in, and that's the status of most of us.
Hey, I think God was bored. He created us. He sends us here for His entertainment, then we go home.
That's the short version, yeah.
Yeah. This whole thing about the radiation, it's more than that, John. They put it in stone that they want to kill off, reduce the Earth's population to a manageable 500 million. And
think of how ugly those 500 million people that they will choose will actually be. They'll be all the pigs of the world, all the psychopaths of the world.
Yeah, 499 million slaves. With not enough intelligence to do anything for themselves. And
Well,
1 million elitists sitting there raking in all the money, which is about what the percentages are now with the world banks, the Rothschilds, the bankers. They control 90% of our wealth, don't they?
you know, all of this philosophizing is real good. I look at the clock and see we got about 10 minutes left. All this philosophizing is real good, but we got to do something now. We got to take action now. Why I started to talk about the difference between law and morality is that we have to say, fuck the laws. We have to act on our morality and do what is right. And we can all pretty much agree on what is right, except for the minor particulars. And we can't get hung up in those. We have to do what is right. What is clear now is that we are run by a system of criminals who have us in a real bind because they have the media echoing what they say and helping them carry out their plans, like we saw so clearly in the Iraq War, where reporters weren't allowed to do independent reporting. We have to act now, and we have to choose morality over the law. The law is immoral. All of these laws that have been created since the Patriot Act and all of these other abominations, we have to not obey them. We have to overturn them. We have to demand that they be changed, and we have to say no to these guys, to Obama. We have to say no to Romney. We have to say no to the entire political establishment because they are not working for the American people. It is proven that they are not working for the American people. They're working for the Jewish international bankers who seek to create a plantation system of slavery throughout the world. And if we let them do that, it will be the end of the human species. If we plan on stopping them, there is one essential path to take, and that is right straight at the Jews, whose philosophy is utterly immoral, a crime against humanity, and anybody who defends Judaism, Jews, Israel, Zionism, any of those things in any way is the enemy of humanity.
They have managed to make us, and I agree with that basically. The problem I have with any of that is that there may be a Jewish lady living in that next house. I never asked her. I never went over. I never met her. I don't know. And frankly, I never walked up to anybody and go, "Are you Jewish? Are you Christian?"
Let me put it this way, Clayton. The Jews don't worry that same way about you.
They don't. They don't. You're true. That's true.
So that's, I think, where we are, and I'm beyond distraught about the condition of internet media. It is so cowardly. It is so intimidated. People like Alex Jones and Jeff Rentz are still afraid to say it's all Jews because it's not the Jews themselves as people. They're just people. It's the philosophy of superiority, of thinking, and the Jews didn't invent this themselves. They stole it from the whites. They stole this thing about superiority. They learned a lot from the Nazis, and they adopted a lot of their policies because they were so sound, and it is exclusionary to the max. You know, neither side in World War II was right. The wrong side might have won, but if the other guys won, we would have had a kind of regimentation that people wouldn't have put up with. And just as we shouldn't put up with this, but we have been lulled into this materialistic coma where we think we can find our salvation in a product or a drug or a toy or a pastime. And we can't. There's only one pastime that we should have. Oh God, this is so sappy and trite. But there's only one pastime that we should ever have, and that's looking after each other.
Well, that's the whole plan behind Liberty Villages. You know, anytime, if you go out and hide in the woods like Randy Weaver, the same thing could happen to you that happened to Randy Weaver.
That's
and
right.
the only reason Randy Weaver isn't dead is because the people from Montana, the militia came to Montana, surrounded the FBI, and it all stopped. It all wound down. The FBI brought in Bo Gritz to calm things down and to arrest Randy Weaver. And So at least there was a happy ending for Randy and his children.
Well, no, there wasn't.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. It was, you losing your wife and your son is not something that I could be excused, and nobody's gone to jail for their murder. Lynn Horiuchi got promoted.
Yeah, he did. He got an award. That's the American way. Go rape an Iraqi family and get an award, or go turn in or go report some kind of beastly or bogus behavior on the part of the military, and they torture you for life. That's the American way.
Now, John, Clinton bragged about this over years and years ago, that California was going to become whites were going to become a minority. He bragged about that. And anybody that's trying to support the Constitution, and anyone that dares to talk about the Jews, is targeted, and they do their best to destroy us, at least financially. They call up and threaten advertisers and all that. That's been my experience. And I'm actually stopping talking about that and writing about that, because that's all in the past. I think there's a different future. I actually think we've got a bright future. We've got the technology, we've got the information, we've got the internet for right now. Right now we got the internet, which gives us instant communication. This gives us a small advantage, but if the people don't wake up and don't understand that very few people will give you the information that John and I are giving you right now. Very few.
I spent 4 or 5 years in the 9/11 skeptics movement, trying to assess what was going on and reading all the different theories, and as revelations came out, modifying my vision of what happened. But since early on, since really 03, 04, when I wrote the little pamphlet, The Day America Died, and I put just a really minor couple of paragraphs at the end about how everything pointed to Israel, and this was in the time where this was not really being brought up by almost anybody. And ever since that time, I've noticed that there's been a division in the what we call the opposition, between those who will come right out and mention Jews and those who will use some synonym or not mention them at all. And I still see that division as being very pronounced, where the people who have the biggest personalities and the biggest bandwidth and the best funding are championing the opposition, and yet still not crossing that divide of pinning the blame for all of this stuff on where it belongs, which is really on American Jews who manipulate the media.
Does that make them traitors? Does it make them accessories to criminals? What does this do? Where I don't understand where people's heads at. With me it's real simple. You know, after 4,000, 5,000 years, we came up with a document that gave us the right to govern ourselves. We didn't have to be slaves. We finally gained freedom after 4,000 years with a Constitution, and it's been under attack ever since.
I think it makes them unreliable and undependable, and probably in the case of everyone, guilty of leading us toward a false goal, because the real goal for all of us should not be a kinder, gentler America with more justice for the little guy and more justice for the big guys too. I don't think that's what we should be shooting for, which is why all this hubbub about Ron Paul, I think, is useless. We need to re-examine the whole structure of America and understand its role as a mass murderer in the entire world. And our belief system is all tied up in that. It's a very complex thing, but it is this at bottom, it's this looking down the nose at someone else who seems to be more primitive than you are. And you learn, if you look hard, that the aboriginal species have much better teeth than the people in developed societies, which is an indication of how developed societies are poisoning themselves. And because we're lost in our media white noise mind lock, we can't see any of this. We're trapped in an abstraction. It's poisoning us. The whole world is being strangled by it. The key element in it is believing that we live forever. We need to examine all these things, and otherwise, if we don't overturn the entire paradigm that governs society, society will destroy itself. The evidence is abundantly clear at this point.
John, I no longer believe in the patriot movement. I think we're our own worst enemies. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the majority is going to wake up. I don't think they're capable of it. I don't think their mindsets. I think that maybe the Jews have a more correct vision of us as cattle than we would like to admit.
I'll never admit that in my own mind. I will continue to fight with every breath I have that we can wake up and be the most noble beings in the universe if we just shake off these delusions that have poisoned our civilization for 2,000 years.
I believe that we're capable of that. I believe there are some of us that have risen above this whole Jewish mind lock, Jewish deception, this cyclops in our living room that programs us. But the fact that you and I are aware, and I've got a few hundred people listening to us right now that are aware, that agree, that listen to this show, and agree with what we're saying here. We're not urging anybody to go out and kill anybody else. We're saying we can rise above this. We can become noble beings. We can raise our level of vibrational energy.
In order to see the criminals that we have put in place to destroy us, we have to see the criminal inside ourselves.
Maybe you should explain that.
Well, there's not enough time. just look in the mirror, you'll know what I mean.
All right. You know, and again, I think I've reached an epiphany on this, because I'm going to secure my life. I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing, bringing you this information on this kind of radio show. I do need your help. They would love for you not to support us. They would love for us to go broke. They'd love to see us living under a bridge somewhere. They'd love to see me get kicked out of my trailer park. But guess what, folks? It won't happen. Ain't going to happen. And John Kaminski is going to have a place of honor up on my website before the day's out. Because the information and the articles that he put out, I featured almost every one of them in the Free American magazine, because he's telling you the truth here. You know, I refuse to be a slave. I am the Free American. I will be the Free American until they're successful in killing me. And that's the only thing I disagree with you, John. You know, I think I'll come back again. I'll be fighting these bastards throughout eternity.
Just remember, Clayton, everything, your entire fate depends on what you do in the next moment.
That's right. That's right. And I am making that productive. I'll be uploading this show to YouTube. We'll be working on, I probably missed the first half there, but it's all up. If you click on your name, it's all there on MP3. I am looking for someone to help take some of these videos like this that will be up on YouTube and put more, you know, panels in it, pictures in it, do some things, dress it up a little bit before we put it up on YouTube. And also, I'm going to tell you folks, yeah, I'm in it for the money. I wrote these books to sell them to you. I do this radio show to provide advertising and support for people like John Kaminski. How much did you pay me to be on my show here, John? How much should we make off each other?
Will you take an IOU?
I'll take Liberty Village script. You know, folks, there are answers out there. I'm going to try to provide them for you, and it all involves just stopping this whole